Have you seen the have you seen the speed runs of making the Soldier Boy beat?
I have. They're really good. They're really good at that.
It's hilarious. The sub 17-second Soldier Boy speedrun record makes me cackle. He just looks
They're really
so
good at
pleased
it.
with himself.
I stumbled from that into the category of people who do like just general speed runs of like making music and making beats.
That's
It's a really good
hilarious.
niche.
I love that actually.
Have you ever seen
What's
those?
the funniest one?
Have you ever seen those? No, I'm going to ignore what you said. Have you ever seen those YouTube
Okay.
videos where it's YouTube videos like it's more than one person. The one person who does the videos right now of trying to
You are my brother,
recreate
Anakin, and I love you.
the sound of like an album without listening to it.
Yeah.
They're really funny.
Did you know we've started, by the way, this is all going in the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Um
yeah,
we
yes.
did you know so one of my fave bands ever is Talking Heads, and their album Remain in Light, which is a massive one. Um it has
By
the
size or
iconic
cultural relevance.
cultural relevance. It has the iconic "Letting the days go by, never wanna hold me down." It's that album.
Mm.
Um, there's a track on that at the end. Oh, is it called like the Overload or something? I usually skip it because it's pretty dire. But they were Joy Division was really big at the time they were working on this album. It was kind of that era, and they'd never listened to a Joy Division song, but from all the descriptions they'd heard of Joy Division songs, they were like, let's do a Joy Division one that just sounds how we think Joy Division would sound
That's
from
such
what
a
we'd heard
good way
about
to go
Joy
about writing
Division.
songs.
Yeah. And then they came out with it, and then they listened to Joy Division, and they were like, yeah, it's about right, really.
Talking
Oh,
Heads, buy me dinner first.
oh, dude. Um,
I just looked
in
around the
the
room.
Thank you, and the room stood up and applauded. In the ongoing saga of me being convinced that I'm in tune with the world and the universe, I
perfectly, perfectly normal thing to say off the bat.
I was
What?
listening to
No,
Talking Heads.
no,
I
nuh-uh.
was talking. I was
What do
listening.
you mean? What do
I'm
you mean?
about to explain. America explain. I was talking to. No, I wasn't. I was listening to Talking Heads the other day on my walk back from uni,
Buy me
and I was
dinner
like,
first. You know.
and I was like, oh, what is that really well known concert film that where they filmed like the really iconic Talking Heads show? I was like, oh, it's Stop Making Sense, and I went and found the album and I listened to the live album from Stop Making Sense, and the version of that, the version on that album, the live version of the flipping, oh, what is it actually called? Is it? Oh, it's Once in a Lifetime, like the iconic Talking Heads song. Is so good. I'd forgotten how good it was. I listened to the whole thing and was like, oh, I'm enjoying this so much. And then I went on Twitter the next day, and it was like the something like the 20 year or yeah, 20-year
I'll be honest
anniversary.
with you. You are by yourself here. Like I've had a lot of I've discovered a lot
Stop.
of music over the last few years, and finally got back to the music that used to be good that everyone was telling me was good at the time, and I never really got around to it. Talking Heads is not one that I've quite
Oh, dude,
taken a step into
40
yet.
year. Okay, I was way off. It was the 40-year anniversary of that concert film coming out, and I had just the day before, for no reason, remembered it and been like, I should go listen to that, and spent an entire evening listening to it as it turned into the 40th anniversary, and I was like, wow, my brain knew.
Okay,
That
so that was you referencing that. That still doesn't explain it at all. I would like to know what you meant by the fact that you said on the ongoing saga. Like
it
there is
was
a
me
journey that
feeling like
I've missed.
I'm in tune with the universe. You know, we were
No,
raised
that you
very.
said you know that doesn't really explain it away.
I'm
I
about to extrapolate. You know is a vocal filler, not you know as in you must already be aware.
He's a vocal
Ding, ding.
fella, very extroverted.
Oh, call me like the way I'm a vocal filler. The um. Well, I used to be like, this is God speaking to me, and now I'm like, I don't necessarily think actually that it's necessarily God being like, by the way, you should go listen to the soundtrack from the Talking Heads live
Because
concert
it's
movie.
as you will listen to it, it is the 40th anniversary.
The 40th anniversary.
Absolutely batshit insane thing to say. If
So
if a human
instead
if a human comes up to me and says, "I am in touch with the world because I listened to the 40th anniversary,"
No, what I'm trying to say is I don't think that was.
No, I'm just amazed that
think-
I'm amazed that's a rationale you ever possessed.
Oh, dude. Yeah, of course it was. You know, Christians are like, God showed me a particularly pretty daisy this morning. And it's like, that's nice that you have such a determined frame for understanding how pretty that daisy was and you noticing it. I, however, just think that the universe whispered in my ear and said, "Hey, it's the 40th anniversary
What-
of that
what if-
really fun talking
I don't think that you. I don't think at any point. I don't know. I'm gonna speak over you because you're not making any sense. I don't think that the universe or God was involved with this. I think it was all just a big coincidence. I don't think.
No, but what if works of art or things that are true channelings of the zeitgeist have a sort of gravitational mass to them in the shared public psyche, and people who are aware of the grooves of the environment around them are liable to fall into those grooves and roll towards
real strong start off to this podcast is you looking like the image of Charlie trying to explain who Pepe Sylvia is in
there's a Tumblr post I'm really enjoying at the moment that's going around that's like thinking about getting into philosophy. Anybody got any good starter thoughts? And the response, yeah, some stuff is good, some stuff is bad, but it depends.
It's a good response. I just feel like it's gonna be a hard one to digest for the first time we've never podcasted before, so I can't begin to imagine this would be an easy thing for people to consider. Though I imagine the majority of our listeners will be people.
Sorry, we've never podcasted.
I'm
before.
doing a thing that's called a lie for a joke.
Oh,
it's where I pretend.
You've never done any of those before.
I'm just saying, the people who are going to be listening know you, I guess, so that maybe it's not as indigestible as it seems.
This is going to become far-reaching and influential.
I am going to be bigger than Barack Obama.
I honestly, I'm not at my smallest. I reckon I'm already bigger than Barack Obama.
In every single sense of the
bitch
term.
is skinny.
Yeah, he is a skinny fella.
Oh,
Probably all the guilt just eating away at him for all the crimes that he did during.
Respect him and his marriage to another woman is what I would do. Viscerally. The guilt? I'm sorry, he didn't bomb.
Okay, interesting use of the verb. Let's move on.
I was gonna say Iraq, and then my brain was like, "You don't know that."
Yeah, you bombed a lot of children's hospitals.
Oh yeah.
In the Middle East.
Yeah, let's talk about the Middle East. Actually,
Okay.
Next segment of this podcast is going to be
Where's
solving.
We're gonna solve the
The
biggest,
issues in
the
Gaza.
oldest crisis in the world.
No, the oldest crisis in the world is whether or not you should share food with your wife.
No, that's what Phantom Tax is about.
Ooh, I love my wife. I love my wife.
I think
Let's go ride a bike.
you know about Phantom Tax, right?
Yeah. So it's
Skibbity.
when Christine Daae goes down into the basement and has to ride a boat, and he's like, "Also, I'm well late on my taxes. Help a brother out." And she's like, "Yeah, Phantom, I got you." And then daps him up. And then there's a 20-minute interlude while she talks him through the Internal Revenue Service.
How complicated it is, yeah, and the legalese jargon that happens around it.
Oh, I loved him in The Mandalorian.
Pedro Pascal.
No, legalese jargon. He was in the same scene as Glorp Shitto. You don't remember him?
From the Max Rebo band, I remember.
Yeah.
I was there, yeah.
I thought that was funny.
If it seems like there's no structure to the podcast, that's because there isn't.
That's because there isn't. What I was
Little context for the folks.
It probably would have been funnier if I just said he was one of the pod racers, but I couldn't think of the word, and I was going to say podcasters instead, and that would have just completely derailed any semblance of a joke.
Truly is no way for a joke to be better expressed than for it to be dissected.
Legalese jargon. He's a podcast.
Oh yeah, League of Legends. I've
Star Wars.
played that game.
Oh my god, I have actually been getting into League. I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah, do you think it's because it's with friends, or do you think it's because it's a game you would actually enjoy playing on your own?
I have only ever attempted to play on my own once, and Brad came online within 3 minutes and was like, "Oh, let's get in a custom game."
He has a really good sense for those things of people.
I think he was just online and saw that I was playing.
He's also addicted to League of Legends. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really enjoy it because I only play with friends. I don't take it very seriously. I'm not very good, so I'm not massively invested, but I'm good enough that it's not totally miserable. Yeah. Like I can get by.
You know how to move and press the abilities, which is
which took a while.
Fundamentally more than most, so it's you're doing a good job
there. Yeah. But yeah, I play Smolder. Sometimes I play Heimerdinger.
You're a top.
Smaller than the diagram.
You're a top laner. Now this is the part you can all skip ahead in the point. This is the part where we talk about League of Legends.
Yeah, I like top lane. I don't mind bottom lane. Bottom lane was very reassuring when I was learning how to play because
you always play
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Because Smolder's ADC.
But actually, top lane's nice because you just kind of, when we play. You just kind of get left to it.
Yeah, top lane's an island. There's a reason people like top lane. They don't really have to think about the rest of the game.
At some point, everyone else goes, Kristen, we're running it down mid. Kristen, why are you up there? Kristen. And you just
there is a small amount of me that resents that you never check the map, like not even once. It's like there's a thing at the bottom right of the corner of your screen that you don't even recognize.
Look at that! Look at it from time to time.
Yeah, but okay, looking at it and then extrapolating the data you're getting from it and then using that.
Well, that's a whole other skill. I'm busy doing things like trying to work out how to last click minions.
That's true.
Dude, I really hope that he doesn't listen to this, but that one guy who shall remain nameless, who very, very earnestly, when I was like, so, got any tips? You're like Mastery 2 billion. On Smolder, and he was like, yeah, you want to last click minions, so what you're going to do is wait until they're nearly dead, and then you're going to try and click them at the end, and you could just wait until then, and then just last click them, and then watched me fail to do that, and was like, so you have to click, and I was like, bro, it's all I can do to walk forwards.
I bet, yeah, asking you to CS well when you barely understood how to move was a bit of a harsh jump. It was
a bit of Vaj, yes, it was really.
A bit of Vaj.
A bit of Vaj. Loved his opera.
Nope, you gotta wade your way through that one. What does that mean?
It sounds like a guy who'd written an opera.
Okay, there wasn't a reference.
Beethoven.
It's Beethoven. You know, I was thinking
Wagner actually.
Speaking of Beethoven, it sounds a lot like Lord John Marbury, and I've been enjoying.
Yes. Oh, Abigail, your breasts are magnificent.
I've been enjoying The West Wing.
Oh, me too, dude. They finally got the campaign going. I'm in the middle of season 6.
you broke through the curse of halfway through season 6.
Yeah,
get out of talking about the Middle East. You know what I'm saying? That's to do
painful.
with the West Wing seasons, not generally the current political and geopolitical climate.
It has just now for our returning segment on the Middle East has been really interesting.
Because we've got more to say, and we've got more to say about it. Because there's this.
And you know who's here to solve the issue is us.
Free Palestine, by the way.
Yeah, free Palestine. R.I.P. Betty White.
She ain't dead
yet, but I know that's coming soon.
He was right. He's right about everything he says.
16 bars.
Exactly. Following our tangents would be impossible for anyone who isn't the two of us. Anyone who ain't.
EINT.
Oh, I love those trees in Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god, it was so good.
Oh, by the way,
Everything's actionable.
treebeard,
No, it isn't.
treebeard would,
Starving.
absolutely would. Oh my lord!
Well, yeah, he's a tree.
9 feet tall. Oh, could probably,
he's,
could probably.
said,
No, I heard you.
Because you said wood.
I'm fucking pushing onwards.
So
he's
a
9
tree.
foot tall. Do you think his 3-point game is crazy? Do you think NBA?
So they do appear to just have forgotten about the whole fact that they solved the Middle East at the beginning of the season. And then,
do you think the NBA would sign Treebeard if he was faster?
Excruciating business of vacillating between like the enormous ramping excitement of these like parallel campaigns starting from the ground up and the White House, which has got a bunch of ramshackle characters, none of whom kind of work together. Leo is back for no reason.
They've been there for 6 years and they really don't know what else to be doing with them. Yeah.
And I was like, you know, they're like alternating, and I was like, yeah, also they're still trying to run the country, we get it, oh my god. Also, I have so much less sympathy as a 28-year-old woman with a sense of her emotional equilibrium for Josh Lyman than I did when I watched this when I was 17. So I was like, Donna left him. Oh no, it's so sad. And he's like longing for her and looking across the hotel. I was like, oh my god, bro, get it together. Go talk to her.
Just,
you idiot.
Just go talk to her. Yeah.
You took advantage of her vast intelligence and skill set and willingness for like 5 years. And now you're like stroppy about it. Oh my days. But I would. Right up with Treebeard. Honestly.
He's so fine. I couldn't get him off my mind.
I don't think that they'd be allowed to play in the NBA.
Why not?
I think that they're too tall.
Imagine Steph Curry and LeBron just putting it down with Treebeard. I think that 3-point average.
Discourse about God. The Olympics can't even handle a woman with high testosterone readings. Yeah. There would be some nonsense about like, bro, he's literally a tree, and it would be like touted as racism by half of the audience, and then touted as completely reasonable by the rest.
That's because it's because of the woke left. It's because of that damn phone.
Yeah. Because it's on their damn phone. So welcome back to the podcast. I think away with all structure.
I think Treebeard could score from the half court every fucking time.
I don't think he'd be able to see the hoop. He'd just be like, hello. No, you know what this is? This is actually a perfect, sort of analogous way of thinking about why giving Tom Bombadil the ring was not viable. It is analogous to Treebeard standing in a basketball court and you having to explain to him that this tiny, inflated piece of plasticky leather has to go in that tiny plastic round thing. He's too big to really perceive this, let alone care about the point. He's been around for thousands of years.
Sitting and explaining to him that you can't walk off court while he's like, Saruman is burning my children.
You can't move while you're holding the ball.
That's called travelling.
What is a ball?
That's called travelling, Treebeard.
This is all the same reason that they, in the Council of Elrond, where they're like, we could give Tom Bombadil the ring, it doesn't affect him, and Gandalf's like, that's because he literally has no idea what it is or cares.
Do you think Tom Bombadil's your hero because he would like to live the life that he does?
Absolutely. I don't think that, I know that. Dude just frolics around and has a hot wife, and that is his personality. Oh, I love him. Oh, he's wonderful.
Man. There really isn't really a way to get out of where we are because I don't remember how we got here. So
the image of someone trying to explain that they fouled Treebeard.
That doesn't make much sense to me. But then again, you are very
small. It's really got me.
It's just a guy with black and white stripes, and he's got like a whistle, and he's like, Treebeard.
You can't travel with the ball, and he's like, boom.
It's like, my people are burning.
He's like, I've been asleep for 1,000 years. Oh,
yeah. Treebeard trying to pass the ball to anyone in his team takes the entire length of the clock of the entire game of basketball.
He attempts to get the ball and just picks up 3 people, one of whom is his own teammate.
Is Treebeard and just normal people? Is that what we're assuming? It's just
yeah, he's the only Ent.
One Ent.
It's not a team of Ents versus a team of people. It's a team of people who somehow managed to get
they found
Treebeard onto their roster.
They found Treebeard in his sophomore year of college, and they're like putting him through the what's the word?
Scholarship.
No, but I yeah, it's got away from
West
me.
Point.
Yes.
He's joined the military.
And the East Point.
The U.S. military has rolled out its new sector.
Trees.
Which is Tolkienian other races. So we're going to be developing Uruk-hai in the next 5 to 10 years.
I've got a question for you.
Oh, yep.
Given, I know this is an age-old question. It's not my question. They never are. But how did the Uruk-hai know what a menu was for there to be meat back on it?
I think it is because the Hobbits' belief in menus and the restaurant sector and the hospitality sector as a whole is so strong that the Earth has learnt of it, and they are born of the Earth.
Similar to how
so they came out with a functioning knowledge of the service sector.
Similarly to the way that the Hobbits have tuned the Earth for everyone else to know it, you were in tune to the Talking Heads 40th anniversary.
Yes. I saw a great meme the other day that was like, I love that one middle management orc who kept arguing with Saruman about realistic factory output.
Yeah, because there's got to be one of them.
But my lord, we don't have the means. Being like, listen, the orc's like, I did 1.5 years of like spreadsheet management for this.
I've seen that, and it's like, just build it faster. And he's like, but come on, man.
It's like, I did forest management 101 for 1.5 years in graduate school, and you come out here with your pointy stick
and say build them faster. Yeah.
Oh, days. I was really into the Jasper Ford series, the Thursday Next series.
I remember you reading them. I remember them being very colourful covers. I don't really remember much of the actual books themselves.
The one of them ends with the so croquet, like garden croquet, is like a massive deal in that world, and it ends with like the croquet Super Bowl, and it's the biggest sporting event in the world, and through some hilarious wrangling of the stakes, if she loses, if Thursday Next loses this game, the world will end and the universe will collapse, and the other team is determined to beat them through extremely nefarious means, has basically incapacitated or bought out all of her teammates, and so she gets a bunch of Neanderthals to join her team because they've been genetically like cloned, so they now exist again, and they're a very peaceful race who have no interest in human sports, but are pretty good at croquet. And it's her and a bunch of Neanderthals who are profoundly disinterested in anything to do with human sports. And the game keeps being interrupted by the lawyers of both sides arguing about whether or not they constitute humans and can therefore be allowed to play. And so like every single time a point is scored, someone comes on and goes, hang on, we need to have a short session, and then a bunch of lawyers argue about the genetic code of the Neanderthals while the Neanderthals sit and meditate in the middle of the croquet pitch, and Thursday's like, cool, we have 20 minutes before the universe ends.
Absolutely ridiculous set of stakes.
Wild. It was so much fun. It was one of the most enjoyable like finishing sequences to a book I've ever read. In the end, the Neanderthals were allowed to play because the defending lawyer found something about the fact that they only had to be provably, at least in part, human, and the Neanderthals had a little bit of human DNA, so they were allowed to continue kicking everyone's butts at croquet. But they were only playing because I think Thursday had like saved their species from a second extinction somehow, and she was calling it a favor, and they were like, "We do not understand the weight of human sports, but yes, we don't mind a game of croquet, sure." To a crowd of like 50,000.
You know what book I remember reading as a kid? I remember reading Unlondon.
Hungry Caterpillar. Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, that was a banger of a book.
China Miéville is a superb writer.
I've been reading China Miéville's book on the Communist Manifesto and generally the cultural impact of Marxism as a whole. And
Very nice. Is that non-fiction?
Yeah, non-fiction. I mean, you better believe it, baby. Marxism is real. It's real and it's here.
Yeah, but I can also well imagine China Miéville being like, I have written a 800-page novel that is about the effects of communism and takes place in a soup can or something.
No, yeah, I understand
like,
why, but
nuts.
It's great, and it's very, very, very obviously strongly for it. It doesn't pretend to be like a two-sided argument. It's just like,
I love this.
The Communist Manifesto is one of the most important documents written for the West, which it was, and it still is.
Hell yeah.
And I mean, I was already becoming a Marxist just generally by my own ways of thinking and ideology. Which for our American viewers doesn't mean I also want to destroy the free world.
I do.
Yeah, no, also real.
Down with capitalism.
Down with capitalism. Yes, no, actually real. But
did you know?
It's been amazing.
Sorry, carry on.
No, there wasn't much more to say than I've really enjoyed it, and it's done more to just sort of reinforce my belief in it rather than you know.
What's it called?
The woke left when they end up reading an echo chamber of the things they already believe.
That's what that's called?
No,
Damn, he needs to work on his branding.
I don't actually remember. It's a very long title. I'll look it up for you whilst you waffle on with the next idea.
Oh, well, forgive me for bringing the next thing to the table, but actually on my to-read pile over there is the book that China Miéville has recently released with Keanu Reeves.
Damn.
Called The Book of Elsewhere. Yeah! Looks very, very cool. It has something to do with the Berserker comics? I'm not sure.
I know of them.
Yeah, I know of them. That's all I know.
It's
but
a Spectre
I think
Haunting.
It's a standalone.
A review on the Communist Manifesto, by the way.
Say that again.
A Spectre Haunting.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, also on my to-read list, and also on my to-read pile, which is staring at me from the end of the bed, is The City and the City.
I began reading that. It was good. It's just I've never really been able to crack another book since Unlondon, not because it's impossible, but because it was just Unlondon was obviously the one he wrote for young adult, and everything else is written.
Everything else is much meatier,
much harder to
penetrate.
Didn't
you also try to read? Is it Pedido Street Station?
City Station. Yeah, it was a
brick of a book.
It was a heck of a book.
Absolutely massive. But yeah, Unlondon is amazing. I feel like it was so formative for me as well, not just in terms of like how many brilliant ideas, like creatively and descriptively, he manages to jam into that one novel. If it sounds like, by the way, we're saying and then the name of the city, London, that is what it is, but it's spelt Unlondon, or with like a U as 3 distinct syllables. But it is about an alternative London that's like super weird. But I think the thing that really stuck with me was the whole thing he did where like the plot hinges upon the idea of having a chosen like messiah character who has been prophesied to go fix the thing that's wrong, and then her getting conked out in the first like 2 chapters, and her best friend having to like drag her body around with all their cronies, not like dead, she's unconscious, to just try and cobble together what they can figure out she was prophesied to do. And like she just has to spend the whole book being like, yeah, so I'm not her, but she's kind of out of commission.
It's such a good.
It's just
all of the
brilliant.
scenes stick with me. It's like the chess scene, especially where they talk about who wins. And not to spoil the book, but it doesn't really. No one's gonna go suddenly read this. To
all our audience members who are 20 pages into Unlondon specifically, and avert your ears now.
Jesus dies and he comes back to life. It's crazy. You won't believe what happens on page 3. No, but like the way that they write around the white wins / black wins scene in the chess and talk about how they don't actually care who wins.
Yeah.
Or
And she like Deebs explains to them that like they don't ever want to actually win because then they'd be purposeless.
and the story for their waiting would end and they would have no reason.
Oh,
yeah.
amazing! I always loved the Talk lands and Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
And to pass through his lands, they have to pay him in new words. And she throws a bunch of Cockney slang at him, and he's so obsessed that he's like, "Cool, you're gonna stay forever and give me all these delicious new weird words from your version of London." And she's like, this has backfired. Oh, he's just got such a brain, man. He's such a brilliant brain.
You be writing.
I do be writing.
UB40 rat in my kitchen.
Sorry,
I said UB40 rat in my kitchen, but that's
Oh, I thought you said you be writing, and I was pleasantly surprised that you were going to take interest in my primary occupation.
For all the listeners that were listening to me rather than Kristen, which is not the right thing to be doing, I said you be writing, and then as Kristen started talking, I said UB40 rat in my kitchen. So those two things were both stated.
That rat is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna fix my rat.
Ooh, yeah. You do be writing though.
Oh, writing. Okay. So my next significant fanfic work is on track to be out at the end of December. It's very big, not just in terms of length. It is girthy, but it's also
as we like
thematically really significant. Huh?
I said as we like them.
We love them. I like them big. I like them chunky. Yeah, that's exciting. And I've got my absolutely wonderful friend Zing, who has stepped in to do some massive editorial heavy lifting, and she is being such a champ about it. And, we are having these calls where she just sits and just wheels out the most brilliant insight, and we talk through a scene, and then I come out of it being like, yes, it all makes so much sense. And it's to the point where it's hard to remember that 2 hours before that I'd been like, this is literally shit, I'm going to cut the whole thing.
It's over, and I am the worm, and everything is awful, and no one ever will love me.
Last night I was getting ready for bed, and I was lying down in bed thinking about the story, and so it's in 7 sections. It's 7 books kind of it, not and section 5 I have never been able to glue together. I've written it and rewritten it, and there are scenes that cover the same ground 4 or 5 times from different angles because I just couldn't make it do what I wanted to do. And Zing had sent me a really, really excellent and very thorough email after reading that section being like, I've had a good think, and here's how I think we can salvage this, which is completely the appropriate language to use about that section because it was on its last legs and I was starting to despair of it. And I was thinking about some of the stuff she said and some of the broader conversations we've had about thematically what I'm trying to achieve in this story. And I literally suddenly the scene was just there in my head, and I sat up and I wrote it, and it came so clearly in a way that nothing for this story has in months now. It's all been the kind of muddy, nitty gritty work.
It's the part of a creative process, right? Where you finish the fun part where you create, and then at the end you're like, well, now I've got to make it look nice, and that's
I've got the shape of it now. I need to actually polish it and apply the discipline.
I'm so bad at that discipline.
Me too.
I recently on the flip side of your creativity.
I won't finish my story. Carry on.
No, I couldn't care less. My eyes were glazed over. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. We'll come back to it in a second.
No. Carry on.
I love you, and I'm sorry. But I recently got myself I've fallen to the side of Apple. I also do have a girlfriend, yes, but I recently fallen to.
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. I'm connecting the dots. Got a girlfriend, then had Apple. This is how the fall happened. Way back in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, no, and then this.
I'm seeing it. It's the end.
I lost a rib along the way.
Also, I had to name a cow. What was that about?
And I got that shit right, by the way. Well, it actually was a cow.
Oh yeah, no, for real. It really is a cow. You were not wrong. Also, you were definitely speaking English.
Yeah, and I was white the whole time.
Modern English, as we know it, was happening.
And they were real gardens, no less. They were there, and you should go hunt for them.
Yes, and also, David Tennant was there.
Anyway,
boyfriend.
I'm salvaging this. I recently got a Apple MacBook Pro, and have been indulging myself in indulging. Is not the right word, but I've been creating music again, and I've been producing music, and I've been really enjoying. Actually,
It's delightful, by the way. You should all go listen to it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. You should all go read Kristen's book when it's out, and also Fate Heart, which is a sequel to A Starless Sea, which is also a very good book.
Oh, I got plugged.
You did. But I've been enjoying composing again and sort of testing myself on that and feeling like a whole new massive editing screen essentially of music, and it's very similar to the writing process insofar as I finished creating all the fun parts where I get to make the music, and then I have to look at it and be like, well, now I have to make it, like, I have to fix up all the problems to make it, like, make sure it's all in the right tempo, everything's rhythmically correct, sound nice, and that part's just so dull, and so I just keep making new things and having like 80% done projects in my save files, and they're all named things like draft_2, and that's not a helpful thing for me to work out what it's called or where it is. It's just I'm just creatively very interested in creating music, but I am, in terms of discipline and organization, very bad at forcing myself to finish music, which is that's just a practice and maturity thing that I'm not there yet for, but.
No, that's so real. I feel like I had this conversation with Zing actually. I feel like that is what the Lotus Flowers has been, an amazing and at times very difficult arena for actually starting to learn. Because Fate Heart, so I write Starless Sea fanfiction. For those of you who don't know,
Erin Morgenstern
is a book by Erin Morgenstern. We love.
I read it finally.
Yeah. I wrote a fan sequel follow-up to that 2 years ago called Fate Heart, which has become reasonably popular amongst a very small group of people online who read Starless Sea fanfiction. The Lotus Flowers, the project I've just been talking about, is the follow-up. So it's the next book in that series. But the yeah, like Fate Heart just kind of erupted out of me in one big piece, and then I did tidy it up, but I didn't apply anything like an actual kind of effort of discipline to cut it down. It was so long, and I was so proud of it, and I was just like, okay, I've made this thing. I don't really know what audience it's going out into. When I posted Fate Heart, there were 11 other works in the Starless Sea fanfic tag on AO3. Now there are over 100. I'm very happy about that. Not just me, but it's like the kind of community I'm in.
It's all Kristen, every single one of them.
A lot of it's me.
No one else. She actually took over the other 11 that came before her as well. It's this weird retrospective thing. I'm not quite sure how it works, but it's... No, please go ahead.
But Lotus Flowers, I knew that I didn't have that same kind of insane creative, like, I'm in a haze, I'm in my Kanye making My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, just locking into a Caribbean island, inviting a bunch of hip-hop artists and not sleeping for 3 weeks.
I can't believe that's exactly what you did to create
it was basically what I did. But Lotus Flowers has been so intentional, and so I've had to think about every step of it, and I'm now, like, it looks almost nothing like its first draft, which is wild for me. I'm a very, like, one and done, bash it out, but it's been such a learning experience, and I was starting to flounder, but I think with Zing's help, and also the help of lovely other friends in the harbour as well.
What is the harbour?
Like, huh?
What is the harbour?
Oh, the harbour is the Starless Sea Discord that I'm part of, that I love, and is a lovely little online community of fans of the Starless Sea, and I've made some very good friends there.
What is going on in the Middle East?
So there's a guy called Adam, and his wife gave him an apple.
Were they married?
What? I don't think the institution of marriage had been established by,
Do you think I was curious about this whilst you were speaking? Sorry.
Not to say that marriage is only the Christian version of marriage, but there wasn't anyone else. It very hard to conceptualize that being wedded to this one person means anything when you are the only two people.
Yeah, I mean, you get tax breaks, right? I mean, there's not much of a lack of a
So
gain.
true. There was a tax system operative in the Garden of Eden.
Do you think
That's
the people
really
who wrote
true.
the books of the Bible had publishers and editors? And they had like drafts.
Anyway, I finally managed to write a
like, sent
chapter
off a
last
draft.
night for part 5 of the Lotus Flowers, and I was so I wrote it. It happened. I sent it to Zing immediately. I messaged her and I was like, "You're never gonna believe what's just happened." I didn't say that, but I basically said, "I've had a breakthrough. Do you want to read this chapter?" And I was so gratified with her response. She came back immediately and was like, "This is exactly what this needed. It's gonna be savable, yay!" And I can't remember where I was going with this, but basically, that is one of the major things I've been working on with writing. But I've also started writing an original book that I'm having a lot of fun with, and it's loosely based on a dream I had a couple weeks ago, but has now blown massively out of proportion from what that dream was. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of writing. I'm also trying to write this book with Brad, and I really need to write the next chapter of that and send it back to him.
He's waiting on you. I'll be honest with you.
No, he's not. He told me that he was going to go ahead and write his next bit.
He's not waiting on you. I actually gave you misinformation there.
Waiting.
So when I said that, I actually meant the opposite of the thing I said out loud. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. But it's been nice, because for years and years I've known that all I really want to do is be a writer. And for the last couple of years I think
that's unfair
got
to yourself.
really serious about that.
I think you've been a writer for a while. I don't think it's fair to say you've been wanting to be a writer. I think you've been the creative process is always you trying at something rather than like hoping to be something someday.
Yeah, exactly. But I write. That's like what I do. Is if I'm not actively writing, it's because I'm busy with either uni or my job.
Living and existing beyond
or I'm
that realm.
thinking about it. Yeah, exactly. But it just feels so gratifying to be like, oh, I have actually managed to build rhythms where this is like an important part of my creative output in a week, and I just feel when I'm writing is the only time when I feel genuinely like I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. It's like, this is what I'm made for.
You're in tune.
This is my
You're
Billie
in tune with the
Eilish
universe.
Barbie moment. This is,
You're in tune with the universe.
It's so true, to the point where I can intuit which popular 80s movie concerts are about to have their 40th anniversary and spontaneously listen to them the night before.
I fear.
I don't.
Yeah, well, that's really a good way to wrap up the podcast, to be honest. Oh, that escaped me.
Have we hit half an hour?
Well, darling, we are over 40 minutes in.
Great.
What would you like to say to these people? These people.
It is always morally ethical to steal from big companies.
It is, yeah.
Money's an illusion.
Well,
up with the proletariat.
Real.
Down with the
Bourgeois.
military-industrial complex.
Also that, yep.
Free Palestine.
Yep.
And don't come to us to help solve the problems in the Middle East.
Well, I've got some good ideas. I feel like we could do a few things that I've got on my mind.
I redesigned our thumbnail to reflect our now complete abandonment of all attempts at a structure. I hope that you guys like it.
Personally, the first one was a handwritten the word podcast, but it just wasn't the word podcast.
It said Bob Drott.
I
was writing it with my mouse. It was hard.
I feel like we should have a punchy send-off.
Yeah, okay. If anyone has any suggestions as to how we should wrap these things up, or any advice at all, it's not welcome. Jump in a river.
But with style. Like, if you're gonna do it, like, you get some bonus points. You know, like in games where you, like, hit a kickflip and you have, like, a ×2 multiplier? Do that, but by jumping into the river.
Oh, my year 8 chemistry teacher, Mr. Rutherford, on whom I had a massive crush, once told us that if you jump from a great height into a body of water as a woman, it's really important to cross your legs as tightly as possible, because otherwise the rupture of the water going up between your legs can, like, tear you open from the inside, and I genuinely have to cross my legs every time I think about it. It's so uncomfortable.
And with that, we're going to end the podcast right there. I think that's what we're going to do. We are going to say goodbye.
He dislocated his shoulder in an archery incident and never came back. And I miss him every day.
That was 16 years ago. And so what we're going to do is...
that old.
Yes, you're 8.
Actually, no, wait, it probably was.
Year 8, you were 12, you're 28 now. It was quick math, 16 years.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
2 plus 2 is 4. Minus 1, that's 3 quick maths.
I'm never going to be able to get to say goodbye, so we're just going to say goodbye now.
I see your girl in the park. That girl is uckers.
The thing went quack, quack, quack. You man was ducking.